What's happening, guys? Today I want to talk about how I went gluten-free and lost 23 pounds. Now, before I get into the topic of this video, I have noticed that a very large amount of my viewership is actually coming from people who are not subscribers. So if you are new to this channel, I would really appreciate your subscription. I talk a lot about training and nutrition and answer questions if you have them. So if you like this video, drop it a like, give me a subscription, and stay tuned for more information. Now, regarding the video topic at hand, yes, I did in fact go gluten-free, and I lost a pretty good amount of weight and cut down to the lowest levels of body fat of my entire life. I got pretty lean, and I wanted to talk about why this happened. So, if you're expecting me to talk about how gluten is the devil and how you should remove it from your diet, you may be a little disappointed in this video. The fact that I went gluten-free had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I was actually going into a cutting phase. What happened was I was at the end of a reverse diet. So my calories got nice and high. I was at the end of a building phase, but I noticed that my digestion just got really poor. I was having a really hard time. And without getting too graphic, it just was not a pretty sight. And I was constantly in pain. My stomach was always in knots. I was running to the bathroom a lot, and I just was having a lot of problems, and that's not good. Like, especially for those of us who are into bodybuilding or any type of fitness goals, you want to be absorbing your food properly. If your digestion is off, you just don't feel good. You don't perform as well. You're not absorbing the nutrients. All right. So digestion is really important. I was in a position where my digestion was just not going well. And I went through a big elimination diet. I went on what's called a low FODMAP diet, which I'm not going to talk about that in this video, but I'm going to possibly do that in a future video. But basically what I did was go through a big elimination diet to try to figure out if there was some type of intolerance that was causing this problem. What I ended up finding out was it looked like wheat was a big problem for me. All right. Once I took out all my wheat products, I saw significant improvements. I mean, way better. And I also coincided that with the start of a cutting phase. All right, so I dropped my calories, increased my cardio, and went through this cutting phase at the exact same time that I took out gluten, all right, which is a protein in a lot of wheat. Now, for the record, all wheat is going to be gluten, but not all gluten is wheat. There's other things like barley and rye and things like that. So I don't know if it's a gluten intolerance or a wheat intolerance, but I just know if I keep gluten out, I do a lot better. All right, I was tested for celiac, which that came back negative, but I have some sort of intolerance, and it's clear because anytime I go back to wheat, I have the same problem. So I just have to be careful with it. So why am I telling you all this? Well, there's just so much advice out there about different types of restrictive dieting and different food eliminations to try to lose weight. And I just don't agree with this trend. I don't like it. All right. There's so many ways to lose weight. And the way anybody loses weight is by decreasing their calories, right? By getting to a point where you're eating less calories than your body burns. All right, that is how you lose weight, regardless of whatever diet you do, whether it's a vegan diet or a paleo diet or an Atkins diet or keto, or you eliminate dairy or gluten or anything else. It all happens through a caloric deficit, regardless of food sources. All right, so we have to always kind of keep that in mind. But the bigger problem is most people have a real hard time losing weight and sustaining it, and that's because, in my opinion, we are way too restrictive with what we diet with. All right, so we eliminate all of our favorite foods and we rely on willpower to lose weight. But what ends up happening is, sure, you lose weight at first and you do great at first, but willpower is going to run out at some point. And what ends up happening is you get into this binge restrict pattern, and you start to crave the things that you can't have, or you say you can't have. And what ends up happening is you overdo it whenever you get into a situation where you do have that food. You think, well, I'm never going to have that food ever again, so I need to eat as much of it as I can right now because I'm going back on my diet tomorrow, so I need to just stuff my face since I'm off plan. That is not a sustainable approach. If you are not dieting in a way that you can continue to do long term, you're going to fail. And this is why so many people go through these just super long histories of yo-yo dieting, on again, off again, lose the weight, gain the weight, and they're never able to sustain that weight loss because they can't sustain the diet that they're on. So, should you avoid gluten? Yes, if you have a gluten intolerance, right? Same thing with like dairy. If you have a lactose intolerance, you should probably avoid dairy. Anything that your body does not handle well, that you don't digest well, and you have an intolerance, sensitivity, allergy to, these are things that you should remove from your diet, right? It's going to be for your best. If you do not have some sort of intolerance and you really enjoy these foods, I would not recommend taking them out of your diet because it's just going to be too hard for you to sustain in the long run. And it doesn't matter what you do to lose the weight if you can't keep doing it once the weight is gone. Right? We need to think big picture, long term. These foods don't cause fat gain by themselves. That only happens in a caloric surplus. So it's all about creating that deficit and being smart and thinking about the big picture and not just trying to rush the weight off as fast as possible. All right, I hope that helps. I'm sure this video is a lot different than you were probably expecting when you clicked on this video, but I'm here to tell you, gluten is not the devil. It is to me. My stomach does not agree with it, so that's why I took it out. If you have the same problems with your digestion, I would recommend taking it out. If you don't have a problem digesting wheat or gluten and you're looking for a fat loss solution, do not get overly restrictive. Just make sure you're controlling your calories, creating a deficit, and thinking long term, not rushing the process, and avoid this on again, off again yo-yo dieting pattern that plagues people for years, most people their entire life. Right? We want to always make sure we're thinking about the long run and what we can do to lose the weight and keep it off. Because if you do not keep the weight off, it did not work. Right. Hopefully that helps. Any questions, please let me know, and I will talk to you later.
I'm addicted to the love that you're giving. Every minute, every day I've been craving.